Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of Functions. Now, in this particular video, we are going to have a look at how arrays and functions together play a vital role. So far, we have seen how an ordinary variable can be passed as a parameter to the function. Now, here we are going to have a look at how arrays can be passed as a parameter to the functions. Now, broadly speaking, array can be passed to the function in two ways. First, we pass the individual elements of an array, and second one is we pass the entire array. A simple structure is shown for your reference. I have my original copy of an array, that is my original array elements. Now it all depends upon my application. If I want to update it, then I will use pass entire array. On the other hand, if I do not want to update the original elements of an array, actually meaning I just want to keep intact, then I will go ahead and use pass individual elements of an array. Now let us see both this concept of how to pass individual elements of an array to a function and how we land up passing the entire array to a function as a parameter. Now the first one is passing individual elements of an array. Okay. Now here what happens is we pass the individual elements as a parameter or a function wherein the duplicate carbon copy of the original variable is actually passed, right? So what is the outcome of this? That any change that happens inside the so-called user-defined function will not have any effect on the original value, right? That means the original elements of an array which is there in your main program, correct? Any changes you do in the user-defined will not have any effect in the array which is available in your main program, right? The reason behind it is the function actually does not get complete access to the original array elements. Now let us try to understand this entire points with the help of a simple C source code where I land up passing individual elements of an array as a parameter to the function. So here I'm just making use of my user defined function called as print array with one parameter, and then this is my main program and this is my function definition. Now let us try to understand. I have an array A which I have initialized to 5 elements, right? So since I am initializing, you know very well that I can always skip the dimension of an array. So this will be my A of 0 will be 1, and then my A of 1 will be 2, and so on, right? So this is my array elements. Now initially the value of I is 0, and since I am having 5 elements here, I just want to have this for loop running 5 times. So from 0 to less than 5, that is 0 to 4, it will run 5 times. Now initially my value of I is 0, so I am calling this particular function with parameter as A of 0. Watch out very carefully. Now this is my parameter. This is how it works actually. So since I is 0, A of 0 is the parameter that is going to be called for this particular function, or I say this particular function is being called with A of 0 as a parameter. Now what is A of 0? A of 0 is nothing but 1, and this 1 is nothing but the first element of an array. So your function call looks like this, right? Now what is this 1? This 1 is nothing but the first element of an array, and that is how I am trying to pass the individual elements of an array. Please understand, I am trying to pass individual elements of an array. So that is 1. Now what happens? The control comes to the function definition. I have A is equal to 1. So A gets the value as 1, which is a parameter. And then this printf will print me array element equal to 1. The control comes back to the incrementation counter where I now becomes 1, right? From 0 it becomes 1, and then 1 less than 5, it is true. So now I'm going to call a function with print a of 1 as a parameter. A of 1 as a parameter. Now what is a of 1? A of 1 is nothing but 2. So actually I'm calling this function with 2 as a parameter. So my a will get 2 here, and this printf will print uh, array element is equal to 2. So like that, it keeps on transferring the control from the definition part to the function call. Value of I gets incremented, test condition takes place once again, and then you're calling a function, right? So let us try to check this particular code in the online compiler that I use as usual. So I just copied and pasted my code. From the readability point of view, let me have certain, okay, so this is my code, right? So let me run the program for you. So you have seen here, once I ran the program, I got the output as array element is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now look at the original elements of an array, right? So they are the elements which you are having in the main program. So I have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I am trying to print it in the user defined function, right? So this particular elements are not actually changed. So that is what you mean to say that whenever you do not want to update, right, then that time you pass individual elements of an array as a parameter to the function. Now let us proceed and look at the second aspect of parameter passing to the function, where instead of passing the individual elements of an array, I land up passing the entire array. Now in this particular case, entire array can be passed as an argument to the function. That means what? The function gets complete access to the original array. Now while doing this, or while passing the entire array, address of the first element is passed to the function, so that any changes made inside the function will have direct effect into the original value, right? So let us not bother about what exactly you mean by address. We are going to have a look in detailed aspect of that in the next topic called as pointers. But then let me help you in recollecting. We discussed in the previous module or in the previous topic called as arrays that whenever you refer an array, you always get the base address, right? Now what is this base address? The address where the starting element of an array is stored. So that is what happens when you pass the entire array as a parameter to the function, right? Now let us try to understand this with the help of a code, right, as to what happens when you pass the entire array to the function, right? Now let me take the help of the online compiler as usual, and then I just paste it here, and of course I don't need 2 times the header file. Okay, now let me see. I have the size of an array as n, and then I call the for loop n number of times, and then I get this, right? So let us say, for example, let me run the program first for you. So it just says enter the size of an array. So I have this as 3, and then I'll just press enter, and it says enter the elements of an array. So I just say 10, I say 20, and my third element as 30. Now let us have a look at the output. The output is 20, 30, and 40, right? So just see, you have input as 10, 20, 30, and the output is 20, 30, 40. Now let us see how actually this works. Now my n is actually nothing but, my n was 3, correct? And then I landed up entering 3 elements which got enter the array elements, right? So 3 elements from 0 to 2 which got stored in this particular array called as ARR. So that's what I did. I just said 10, 20, and 30. These were the 3 elements which got stored in my array ARR. Now line number 17, I'm calling a user defined function called as fun with 2 parameters ARR and n. Now ARR is nothing but an array, right? So the entire array, right, goes as the first parameter in my definition part, line number 3, and the value of n, which is nothing but 3, which says they are the total number of elements in this particular array, which goes and sits in my second parameter of line number 3. Now what happens from 17, you are actually calling the function with two parameters, the array, entire array, followed by the total number of elements. So that's what I say, pass only the name of an array along with its total number of elements. Now what happens here, I'm just trying to have my loop control variable which says for I is equal to 0, I less than n, that is n is 3. So it is nothing but this particular for loop will work for value of I for 0, then 1, and it will work for 2. Right? Now, what is ARR of 0? ARR of 0 is actually nothing but 10. Correct? So that was the elements that you have sent here. You have inputted is 10, 20, 30. So ARR of 0 is 10. And this what happens, this particular line number 6, will add 10 to that. So ARR of I, that is ARR of 0, is 10, and 10 plus 10 becomes 20, and that will become the new value of ARR of 0. So my ARR of 0 will be 20. Okay, I'm sorry for that. ARR of 0 is equal to 20. Then I++ will make it as 1, 1 less than 3, and you know ARR of 1 is actually 20. That is the second element here. It is the second element, this one, right? And then this will increment again that by 20, and my new value of ARR of 1 will be 20 plus 10, 30, right? 20 plus 1, 30. So this is how this particular program works, where the output will be 20, 30, and 40. Right? So this is how you say that you pass an entire array, right, to the function. So this is what you mean by how arrays and functions works. So just to conclude, array can be passed to function by two ways. We pass the individual elements of an array, and we also pass the entire array. Let us also have a look at one more example, right, where I'm just trying to find the sum of n numbers. Okay, so I'll just leave it to the reader to understand this particular code, but let me put it in the compiler and help you in terms of getting the output. So it's asking me size of an array. I'll just say 4, and then it will tell me the array elements. So I'll just say 12, 13, 14, and 15. So actually speaking, what I'm trying to do here is I am entering the elements of an array, and I am trying to add the elements of an array in my user defined function, right? So, and then I'll return that particular value back to my main program. So here, if you look at this, sum of numbers is my user defined function, which takes two parameters, a and n. And if you closely observe, the first parameter a is nothing but an array, which is declared in line number 12. So here again, this is an example where I am passing an entire array as a parameter to the function, right? And then as you have seen, the input given to the program is 12, 13, 14, 15, and the moment I press enter key, right, it just gets added up. 12 plus 13 is 25, plus 14 is 39, 39 plus 15 is 54, and then I'll get the output as sum of all elements in an array is equal to 54, right? So this is how basically you can pass either an individual elements of an array to the function, or you will end up passing the entire array as a parameter to the function.